Check. That would help. All right. We're going to go ahead and get this show on the road. Get this meeting, our 12th meeting of the year. Glad to have everybody here. Last week I spoke too soon, Rex. Rex is hiding behind the Colt McCoy sign because I bragged last week about the greatest Monday in the Touchdown Club history. Razorbacks win big. OBU with the upset of Harding. UCA big win. Arkansas State win. It was one day we all come in happy. Then everybody got beat this week. Everybody. We not only get beat, we get embarrassed by Ole Miss. You guys get upset by Southern 0-8 Southern Nazarene team. 0-9. And who knows there was a Utah Tech that came in 0-9 that beat UCA. What is the Utah Tech what? What are they?
They're the Trailblazers.
They're the Utah Tech Trailblazers. So Rex may not even do a segment today. I don't even know. Hey, but so great to have everybody here. We appreciate your loyalty to the club by being here. I'm just going to tell you, I know it's not easy to take the time to get here. But most everybody, I was talking with Colt today. Colt's talked to several folks who know about our club and spoke very highly of it. So oftentimes, and I send out this sizzle reel, you guys have seen it, where guys like Ray Lewis and Brett Favre are going, my gosh, the reception. Greg McCoy said, I've been to a lot of touchdown clubs, but never have I been to one where everybody's so engaged, laughing, engaged, listening. I think that's, he said we could tell this club is passionate about football. And so you being here is a big deal. So I don't take it for granted that you take the time to get here because it's not easy. You got to find the parking garage, do this, come on, go through all the things. So thank you so much for being here. You're gonna love Colt McCoy today. You can make the argument, Colt, between you and Kellen Moore, the winningest quarterback in the history of college football. The history of college football, Colt McCoy right there. So you've got 45 wins. Kellen Moore has 50, but your percentage is better than him. Plus, you played in a much tougher conference than Kellen Moore did. But I'll tell you, I love it when we have the best in the history. We look up there at all of our awards of some of the greatest to ever play the game and people we respect. So not only is Colt McCoy a great player, or was a great player, he is a great person. Wait till you get to hear from him today. What a year. Pittman, Favre, Ray Lewis, Dickerson, Yurchek, Fisher, McElroy, Mullen, Nathan Brown, DJ Williams, Joe Adams, Jarius Wright, Butch Jones, Colt McCoy today. And then next week, you better buckle up. You better buckle up next week because coming in hot, Barry Switzer, Ken Hatfield, and Freddie Marshall celebrating the 60th anniversary of the national championship for the Razorbacks in '64. And I love Coach Hatfield will be doing his obviously sportsmanship award at the end of the year. But Barry Switzer hadn't changed a bit since he was 25 years old. He's just as salty language, and he's still doing deals, business deals. But he's a mess. But it's going to be great. I do want to make one announcement. So we're going to have Barry, Ken, and Freddie, and then we're going to have Jordan Rogers, who was former quarterback for Vandy, who is now doing great work on the SEC Network. Also was in The Bachelorette. Many of the ladies have asked me if his wife is coming. I do not know. I'm not responsible for that. But he's going to be our last meeting of the year. We're going to do our Ken Hatfield Sportsmanship Award with Jordan, and we're not going to be able to finish with David Pollock. David has a contractual agreement. Judy, I'm sure you'll understand this, with ESPN, where he's not allowed to be able to comment about college football and get paid for it. And so I did this deal with the agent thinking that maybe they could work through that thing, and we didn't. And so we don't want to threaten his agreement, his agreement with ESPN. So we'll get him next year. We still have 14 meetings. It would have been the 15th meeting, and we'll look at whether or not we'll do the banquet in January. But the main thing, Jordan Rogers will be the last. If you want to be a part of that meeting, I'd love to have you as a sponsorship because it's one of the most motivating, inspirational deals where we honor the great high school kids here in Arkansas that aren't the standout studs, but are the standout people on their team. So if you want to be a part of that, talk to Debbie, and she can tell you all about that. By the way, Jordan Rogers is also the brother of Aaron Rodgers. So anyway, we look forward to having Jordan. And listen, Colt's going to be great today. We're going to finish strong the last 3 weeks. The pigskin preacher, Chuck Monan, who is the pastor at Pinnacle Church of Christ, will you come up and lead us in a word of prayer?
So last week we found out that the Lord prefers Baptists to the churches of Christ. I guess, Rex, this week we found out he likes the Nazarenes better than the Baptists. Sorry, it's just too soon. But before our speaker rode his horse over to Austin, Texas, and rewrote the record books for the Texas Longhorns, Colt grew up in a good Church of Christ family. His mom and dad, Brad and Deborah McCoy, they came over to our congregation in Little Rock a few years ago and did a Parents' Day. I understand your grandfather was a great singer, too. He had a singing group. You need to know this. This guy thinks he's a singer. So if Baz busts into one of those stately hymns of the church, like "He Touched Me" or "In the Ghetto," he'll go Acapulco with you. So if you guys want to start singing, that'll be good. Colt, good to have you here, man. Let's pray together. Father, we're thankful for the collegial atmosphere that's here for among family and friends, be able to get to see people we haven't seen in a while. We're thankful to celebrate the great sport of football and the lessons that we learned. We're thankful for Colt and the good that he's done in his life, his family, and we pray your richest blessings upon them. Father, especially tonight or this afternoon, we pray that you be with the Stormont family as Jonathan's father continues to battle Parkinson's. Be with him and them and give them strength and comfort. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Chuck. Make sure to mute your phones if you don't mind. You can watch online at, obviously, our fine folks from Arkansas PBS are broadcasting live here on their page, YouTube page, or at the Touchdown Club YouTube page, Facebook, Twitter, 1037 The Buzz. We got so many opportunities for you to see and listen to today's meeting, so we encourage you to do that, but mute your phones if you don't mind. By the way, too, Colt, we have to give away, and we can't keep this up there here on stage any longer. It's too much burnt orange here. I can't even look at it. The only thing worse is hearing the fight song, which we played during our opening of the meeting. All right, here we go. So the winner of this gets this. Let me see here. Hold on a second. Let's see here real quick. I was about to say, if you really want this, raise your hand. If you really want this, raise your hand. Hold on. All right, so we've clearly identified the Texas Longhorns are in the room. All right, here's the number. You had to put in $5 for this. Or did we charge 20 for this today? 973-522. No, there we go. Brian, listen, there we go. Brian Scott back there in the back. Stand up, Brian. Of course, Brian is wearing the burnt orange vest. Very nice. Very nice. Greg, Lane, we'll get her another one. So congratulations, Brian. Brian Scott, great guy, loves his Longhorns. Want to thank our sponsors real quick. Presenting sponsors, Simmons Bank. We have Haskell Anderson and Nina Castaldi again. Nina's been here like 3 times this year. We don't even need George anymore. We're just getting Nina. But great to have you and Haskell here representing Simmons Bank, the best presenting sponsor in America. Simmons finally caught his breath and recovered after the golf tournament. I think George and everybody else took a week vacation for a little bit. Great to have you guys. Hey, if you're interested in getting a commercial or a home loan, go to them. Tell them you remember the Touchdown Club. They'll take real good care of you. The best presenting sponsor in America, Simmons Bank. Stevens, really pleased to have them with us this year. 1933 to 91 years, that is. They are the nation's largest family-owned financial service firms, one of them. Proudly owned by the Stevens family. Warren Stevens, he loves sports, loves football. We appreciate Stevens and their support this year and all the things they've done in the community. Oaklawn Hot Springs, 53, 70% again this weekend. 70%. I was 3-1 in college, 4-2 in pro. That puts me, the last 5 weeks I've hit 74% of the game. So it's been such a lot of fun. If you haven't downloaded the Oaklawn Sports app, do that. By the way, Rex is not invited, but next Tuesday we're going to do the first ever Ladies Night Sports Betting 101 with Oaklawn Sports over at Cash. Roger, myself, Zach Gillum, Nancy Holtis. So ladies, we're going to put that out tomorrow morning on the Buzz. Heather's involved at AY Magazine, their sponsor. If you want to be a part of that, we're only doing 60 the first time. After that, I think we're going to have a lot of ladies who would love to be involved with this. Love to have you there next Tuesday. So thanks to Oakland Sports. We appreciate them and all they do. Right, Lindsay and Jennings. See Judy over here. What a great group they are. 124 years of experience, 79 attorneys, 55 areas of legal service. The sponsor of our Cliff Harris Award now in year 12. We appreciate Judy and all the folks at Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. Thank you. Crane Automotive, 20 dealerships, 1,000 employees, tracking for 24,000 cars sold in 2024. They are helping with Coach Switzer next week, so thanks to Christian Crane and all their support of the club all these years. Sissy's Log Cabin, they've been around 54 years, Rex, and it is Christmas time. Now we turn the page where it's Christmas time. Get by there and tell Bill and Sherry Jones that the Touchdown Club sent you. They got locations all across the state. We appreciate Sissy's. Doublebee's, Steve Lytle, Ed Light, we appreciate them. 34 locations across the state. They've been doing it for a long time, too. Gas it, grab it, go. Summerwood Sports, the Hendricks family to my left, saw Landon Parker at the game this week. I don't know how long he stayed. The question, did he stay the first quarter, second quarter, halftime, or third quarter? But appreciate the Hendricks family and all they do. They're an unbelievable sports complex. The finest in Arkansas, one of the finest in the South. Check them out today, Summerwood Sports Complex. Roller Funeral Homes, 25 Roller Funeral Homes in Arkansas. No one will do a better job. It all starts with Renata Jenkins-Byler. Thank you. Kevin Brooks at Advantage Service Company. Thank you, Kevin, so much. One call does it all. HVAC, plumbing, electrical, they handle it all. Call them today. You can trust them. Arkansas Democrat Gazette, Wally Hall, Amanda Copley, all 20 years of our club. They've been a sponsor. Happy birthday, Amanda Copley. Is she, what are you, 25, 26? Let's give a round of applause for Amanda Copley. She's a great partner. She hasn't aged today. Wait till you hear the numbers for this year's Player of the Week, for this week's Player of the Week. I mean, we always have gaudy. This is maybe the all-time, right at the all-time gaudiest, but we're excited about that. Thank you guys for what you do for us. The Hatcher Agency, I see Greg Hatcher back there today. Lane's here today. He's up for the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame. We all voted for him this week. We hope he gets in this year. All the things he does for the state. Also, Twin City Limo and Popeye. Thank you, Greg Hatcher, for what you do for the Touchdown Club. We appreciate you. Simmons Bank Arena, last week was the 25th anniversary, Rex, so I went to the little celebration. I don't know if you guys know this number. And I don't think Michael has shown his face since we beat the crap out of him last week, 2 weeks ago down at Starkville. So since they opened 25 years ago, the total economic impact of Simmons Bank Arena, $433 million total economic impact. Total number of attendees for Rex for all these shows, for almost 4,000 shows, 10,013,177. Wow. And all the folks who volunteer to try to raise money for their nonprofits, in the 25 years, they've given away $5 million for those nonprofits. So thanks to Simmons Bank Arena and the great job they do. I'm going to bring up Todd Dennis here in just a second with Pulaski County Farm Bureau for a special guest we have here today. This guest here today, he will set the record for us today. I'm not going to tell you why. He sets the record for us today, and nobody will ever break it. But you're in for a treat. We'll bring up Todd here in just a second. War Memorial Stadium, 76 years. The Gray Old Lady opened back in 1948, thanks to John Latch and Mark Pike. Arkansas Urology, we have Dr. Molly Meek, who's actually starting today with Arkansas Urology. Molly, welcome. She received her medical degree from the University of Arkansas Medical Sciences in 2004. Great to have her day one. Where's Molly at? She's on the bus. She's not even here, so I'm sorry I brought her up. She's on the what? She's on the bus. You know what? Just being a superstar. We're either on the bus, we're here, but great to have Molly. Welcome to Arkansas Urology. She's a Commodore. By the way, too, I see Congressman French Hill and his wife Martha Hill. Give it up for them, everybody. Speaking of the bus, this is crazy. So Colt spent 12 years in the NFL, which, we counted up twice today. I'd had 14, but then we started counting. Was it 12 or 14? But it was Cleveland and Washington and a few others, but one of them was Arizona. And you sat down out there and you didn't realize, guess who he was teammates with in Arizona? DJ Williams, right? Washington. It was Washington. Isn't that crazy how you don't even know you sit down and you said you felt a little embarrassed about that? He said he felt terrible. It's okay. DJ said it was okay. But great to have the buzz. My man Roger Scott, Justin Moore, all the gang. We do a great job on the mornings and throughout the day. We appreciate you guys listening to us each week. AY Media, Heather Baker, thanks so much for your passionate support. AY Magazine, Arkansas Money and Politics for the Touchdown Club. Arkansas PBS high school state volleyball coverage this weekend. Well done. Gang in the back. High school football coming up. Nobody does it better in America than Arkansas PBS. We appreciate them. The DoubleTree Hotel, best staff in America. We appreciate them. And JF Media Marketing, Alicia Flynn over there handling all of our social media. Colt, if you say something important, it's going to go up because of that lady right down there. It's going to go around the country because of her. Let's give it up a round of applause for all of our great sponsors, everybody. Our Touchdown Club team, Dwayne Duncan right there taking photos for more than a decade. Chris Kane, RJ Hawk, Wes Sutton, all they do. And the best volunteer staff in America. I do this every few meetings. If you're a volunteer, stand up. Let's give you a round of applause. All these ladies and guys do this for free every weekend. Look at that group. Could not do it without them. I saw that, Melissa. I saw that. I don't like that here. Don't get too crazy. And Debbie Wyman, our executive director. We couldn't do it without Debbie and her leadership. But thank you to everybody. This is a team effort. Somebody mentioned, Jesse, I think Jesse Mason mentioned that Paul Feinbaum mentioned the other day, just randomly brought it up on the show the other day. I don't know what prompted him to do it. He goes, but the best touchdown club in America is the Little Rock Touchdown Club. Yeah. So that's worth a round of applause because all of us are part of that. That's the sponsors, that's the volunteers, and that's all of you being here. So well done, everybody. All right, RJ, come up and tell us about this amazing young man who had an amazing day. It sounds like a basketball score, but come on up. RJ Hawk, everybody.
So as David has said over the last few weeks, we've had some really good numbers, right? And when Amanda sent me these numbers earlier this week, I thought they were numbers from like a video game, right? And so Maddox Berry from Morrilton, he's the tall glass of water over here sitting on the left-hand side. They played Farmington 2 weeks ago. The final score in that game was 78-75. Now, they lost the game, right? But the numbers that Maddox had, he was 38 of 60 for 729 yards and 11 touchdowns in a losing effort. The 729 yards was third most in state history. The 11 touchdowns set a new state record for a single game in the regular season. So round of applause for a state record. Now, I talked to his parents, Jennifer and Jeff, just a moment ago, and they said, well, last week he played Valonia. And I said, well, how'd that go? Well, we didn't win that game. He said, but he threw for 283 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game. So on the season, Maddox Berry has thrown for over 3,400 yards and 46 touchdowns in the season. His head coach, Coach McNabb, wasn't able to come today, but he is a great friend, great high school coach in the state. Your All-Arkansas Preps Player of the Week is Maddox Perry from Morrilton. Yeah, I just mentioned it. How's that? Okay, here, let's step over here.
Young man has a good head of hair on him. To understand, I said, every once in a while, the last 2 winners we had here have brought their girlfriends. And I says, where's yours? He said, my mom's here. There, that's well said. That's right. Okay, Colt McCoy. You know what Colt McCoy said? Colt said, you need some defense, is what he said. All right. I told Rex, just like last week was great. Rex, probably not. Don't take much time on it. Don't take much time. At least I know the Razorbacks, Rex. For the weekend recap, give it up for Rex Nelson, everybody.
David, I know you're a city boy, but take it from a country boy. It's kind of like when you have to clean the manure out of the barn, and you keep putting it off, and finally you have to put that first shovel in there and start shoveling. So let's start shoveling. Last week I stood up here and talked about how nice it was that all 4 of our Division I teams had won. Well, last weekend they went 0-3. Thank goodness Arkansas State had an open date. Arkansas gets flat out embarrassed by Ole Miss. UAPB gets destroyed by Jackson State. UCA, as we've already heard, loses to an 0-9 team. It had started on Halloween night on Thursday, as mentioned, in Division II. Ouachita, number 3 in the country, lose to an 0-8 team in what many are calling the biggest upset in Division II history, period. So let's get moving. Arkansas 63, Ole Miss 63, wishful thinking. Ole Miss 63, Arkansas 31. Jackson Dart passed for a school record 515 yards and 6 touchdowns, 5 of them to Jordan Watkins, and he just completed another one, it looks like. Still coming. Bad dreams. Rebel defense also had 8 sacks, largest margin for Ole Miss ever in this series. First Ole Miss win in Fayetteville since 2008. Ole Miss finishes with 694 yards of offense, 562 of them through the air. Arkansas falls to 5-4, 3-3 in the SEC. Ole Miss 7-2, 3-2. Jackson State beats UAPB 41-3. Now, Coach Prime may be gone, but Jackson State still draws the biggest crowds in FCS. That was a crowd of 34,932 in Jackson on Saturday. Golden Lions are 3-6 overall, 2-3 in the SWAC. Jackson State 7-2, 5-0 in the SWAC. And then, got to do it, Chris, I'm sorry, nightmare in St. George, Utah, as the Bears fall 34-21 to Utah Tech. UCA had 6 turnovers. Bears fall to 6-3 overall, 3-2 in conference. Utah Tech had 14 consecutive losses coming into that football game. And then on Thursday night, as I said, it was the Halloween House of Horrors at Cliff Harris Stadium. 0-8 Southern Nazarene visiting 8-0 Ouachita. Nazarene had lost all of its previous 10 games against Ouachita. They trailed Ouachita 17-6 in the third quarter, take the lead for the first time with 24 seconds left in the game. They go for 2. Ouachita intercepts it, almost runs it all the way back. That would have been a safety and a 1-point win. Amazing. They get him by a shoestring, though. It doesn't happen, so that falls. My goodness, what a week. Now, let's get to some good stuff, because Halloween was a lot better pigskin for the Church of Christ. Harding moved to 8-1 on Thursday night with a 56-14 win over 5-4 Southeastern Oklahoma. Braden Jay had 161 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. And them Boll Weevils, UAM moves to 4-5, 24-20 over Oklahoma Baptist. UAM trailed 17-3 in the third quarter of that game, but came back to beat 2-7 Oklahoma Baptist. Henderson having a great season under its first-year head coach, 7-2 following a 44-10 victory at 2-7 Northwestern Oklahoma. Reddy's had 250 yards on the ground. They also had 3 touchdown passes from their fine quarterback, Andrew Edwards. Southern Arkansas also having a great year. SAU is 7-2 following a 48-14 win at 2-7 Southwestern Oklahoma. Judd Barton, their fine quarterback, passed for 374 yards and 3 touchdowns. Arkansas Tech falls to 4-5 with a 23-13 loss to 4-5 East Central Oklahoma in Russellville. So in the GAC, with 2 games left, you have Harding and Ouachita now tied for the conference lead at 8-1. If they both win both of their final games, they will share the conference championship and both get playoff berths. 9-2 won't get you in this year, though. Both have to win out. 8-1. SAU and Henderson are both 7-2. Arkansas Tech and UAM are both 4-5. Wasn't any better for Division III and NAI. Hendricks is 3-6 overall, 1-5 in conference, a 26-7 loss to Trinity. Line is 1-7 overall, 0-6 in conference, a 45-10 loss to Texas Lutheran. Arkansas Baptist is 1-8 overall, 0-7 in conference, a 45-6 loss to Wayland Baptist. Now, on to the SEC in the cocktail party at Jacksonville. Georgia beats Florida 34-20. Carson Beck threw for 309 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bulldogs moved to 7-1, 5-1 in the SEC. Gators lose for a 4th straight year to Georgia. They're 4-4 overall now and 2-3 in the SEC. Texas A&M finally has an SEC loss, 44-10 thrashing at South Carolina. Rocket Sanders, remember him? He rushed for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns for South Carolina. So the Aggies are now 7-2 overall, 5-1 in the SEC. South Carolina goes to 5-3 overall, 3-3 in the SEC. Vanderbilt, how about Vanderbilt? They have defeated Alabama and Auburn in the same season for the first time since 1955. It was Vanderbilt 17, Auburn 7. Let's hear it for smart guys. Vanderbilt Commodores are 6-3 overall, 3-2 in conference, bowl eligible for the first time since 2018. Auburn falls to 3-6, 1-5. And the freeze is thawing a little bit in Auburn right now. A little heat coming up there. Oklahoma ends a 3-game skid, but they have to get out of the SEC to do it. They win 59-14 over Maine. I didn't even know they played football up in Maine. I thought they just hunted moose. Sooners had lost to Texas, South Carolina, and Ole Miss by a combined score of 95-26 coming into that game. OU now 5-4 overall. Mississippi State, he should have been here today. They won their first game in 2 months, 45-20, but they had to leave the conference too. It was over UMass. Bulldogs now 2-7 overall. Tennessee beats Kentucky 28-18 to go to 7-1, 4-1 in conference. Wonder who that one loss was to. Kentucky falls to 3-5 and 1-6. Now, Hogs are open, thankfully. But some good games in the SEC this weekend. Alabama at LSU, Florida at Texas, Georgia at Ole Miss, Mississippi State at Tennessee, Oklahoma at Missouri, and South Carolina at Vanderbilt. That is a great slate this weekend. Here in the state, we've got Alabama A&M at UAPB, Northwestern Oklahoma at Southern Arkansas, Southwestern Oklahoma at Henderson, McMurray at Line, Louisiana Christian at Arkansas Baptist. You know what that means? Games in Pine Bluff, Magnolia, Arkadelphia, Batesville, and Little Rock. No excuses. Get out and see a college football game on Saturday. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Rex. Tomorrow, of course, is a voting day, so I encourage you to get out and vote, regardless of who you're voting for. Make sure and do that, because there are a lot of people in the history of our country that gave their lives and gave time so that we would have the ability to vote. One of those individuals is here today, a very special guest. Todd Dennis, I want you to come up now with Pulaski County Farm Bureau. And I was wondering, you tell me, Todd, does retired Major Davis, do we want him sitting there? Do we want him to come up here? Where do you want him to be? He's good right there. Okay, so I want you to turn your eyes over here. Major, would you stand up, please? This is Major Foster C. Jock Davis of Russellville. Let's go ahead and give him a round of applause. You're getting a standing ovation. We haven't even talked about you yet. So, Todd, would you please come up and just tell us what's the specialness and the kind of amazing individual that Jock Davis of Russellville is?
Thank you, David. It's hard to believe that a very short 12 weeks ago, we all gathered at the War Memorial Press Box for the speaker lineup announcement. And at that meeting, Chris White of Simmons Bank stood up, and the first thing he said was thanking our veterans. And that was very fitting for where we were at War Memorial Stadium. And so that brings me to this moment. Next Monday is Veterans Day. And Farm Bureau insurance companies, we cherish our veterans as sure as I know you do as well. We have veterans present here today, and we thank you for your service. Today we have a man with us that served in World War II, Major Foster Jock Davis. There are not many of these men left. Major Davis was a combat engineer in the U.S. Army during World War II, earning the combat ribbon with 3 battle stars for his service in the South Pacific. He was deployed to New Guinea, the Philippines, and Australia, and he earned an honorable discharge with the Meritorious Service Medal at the conclusion of the war. One time he'll never forget is one night after the news was received that the bomb dropped on Hiroshima and all the troops were getting ready to return home. Jock stepped outside his barracks for a breath of fresh air. He looked up and he saw a 5-star general staring at him. Jock shot him a quick salute, and that general returned the favor with a salute. Jock then realized that the name of that general was General Douglas MacArthur. And Jock says if he had that to do over again, he would say, "Hey, I'm from Arkansas too." Major Davis's dad served in World War I. He had 3 brothers that served with him in World War II. His 3 grandsons served in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they continue their service to this day. When asked if he was drafted into the service or enlisted, Jock responds, "I lied about my age." He was only 17. He wanted to serve. After he'd returned home, he went to Arkansas Tech University for his degree, and he served in the Arkansas National Guard for a total of 37 years of service. Jock was born in Malvern. He grew up in Prescott. Go Curly Wolves. And he now resides in Russellville. And you will be hard-pressed to find anybody in Pope County that does not know nor has heard of Jock Davis. He will never forget, as they returned home from the war on that ship, they saw the Golden Gate Bridge with a mass of people standing on it, welcoming them home. Major Davis and his other 600 fellow servicemen aboard that ship, they were received their welcome with tears of joy in their eyes. So David, Colt, and everyone present here, let's give another Little Rock Touchdown Club welcome to Major Foster Jock Davis.
What an honor to have you here, Jock. By the way, I told him he was going to set a bar that would probably never be broken. I think he's our first, maybe our only. He is 100 years old, my friend. 100 years old, how about that? He looked at me, Colt, he took one look at me and said, "Man, you need to start working out with me, buddy. Because you look great, my friend." And he's still got that charisma. The women are still chasing him. It's unbelievable. I told him we had a lot of beautiful women and a lot of great people in this club. And you said you wanted to be up here and be a part of this. And he was at the Razorback game 3 weeks ago for the LSU game. Got the loudest round of applause of anybody there that night. So great to have you here again. Thank you for your service to our country. God bless you. Thank you so much. Yes, one more round of applause. All right, so when we look at this intro by Steve Sullivan and Colt McCoy, I want you to look at the high school video. So Colt, you were about 160 pounds. So class 2A, So Class 2A, he's not Class 5A in Texas, not Class 6A, Class 2A, 160 pounds. But I'm going to tell you what, you know what that 160-pounder turned out to do with his career. Let's take a look.
Colt McCoy is a Texas high school legend. At Jim Ned High in Tuscola, Texas, McCoy threw for almost 10,000 yards. He's the all-time leading passer in Class 2A history in Texas. From there, it was on to Austin.
McCoy keeps it again, and Colt McCoy racing up the middle of the field. Gone!
A four-year starter, Colt won or shared the team's MVP honors all 4 years, the only Longhorn to ever do so. A two-time consensus All-American, Colt won every major award except the Heisman Trophy. His career record as a starter was 45-8. He threw 112 touchdown passes in 4 years. He also ran for almost 1,600 yards in college. A 13-year NFL career would follow. His most productive season, 2011, when Colt threw for 2,700 yards for the Browns. Please welcome one of the greatest Longhorns ever, the real McCoy, former Texas quarterback Colt McCoy.
And they're going to roll and throw out of that formation. He's going to keep it.
All right. Well, I told Colt, we don't have a lot of Longhorns here, but the ones we've had have been unbelievable. Earl Campbell, Vince Young, the great James Street. I told him, I said, can you believe we had a sportsmanship award named after James Street? You looked at me and he said, you're kidding me. That's crazy. It is. He says it's crazy. What's crazy also, too, you have a connection to the state of Arkansas that I didn't know about.
Yeah, I did. First of all, I want to say I never threw 11 touchdowns in a game ever. That's awesome. Yeah, my grandparents are from Nashville, Arkansas. Go Scrappers. I don't know where that is compared to here, but I know it's in Arkansas. Yeah, I was. My dad was my high school football coach, but there was times in the fall where we would come up and we would drive like 8 hours from where I grew up to come up here, and Nashville would be playing a playoff game, and I caught a couple of those as a kid. They're a good football team.
And you're just south of Abilene, is that right?
That's right. Yep.
And so also, here's one more step. Where did your mother spend her first year in college?
Oh yeah, my mom played basketball at Harding. So I got two connections here. So I might have to have a quarterback award for. I got some Arkansas in my blood, you know.
He did say. He said, "Where's your quarterback award?" I said, "We got enough bronze behind me. That's all we're gonna do." Yeah, and so you know, it's pretty amazing when you hear somebody say you're the winningest quarterback in the history of college football. You know, now that you're retired, does that mean a little bit more maybe than it did when you're in the craziness of playing ball?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're right. Kellen Moore's record shouldn't really count. I mean, who did they play? I'm kidding. You know, when I think about that, I just think about how fortunate I was to play 4 years. I don't know that there'll be many guys this day and age that stick around and play at the same school for 4 years. The landscape has really changed, and I never had a coaching turnover. I had Coach Mac Brown, who's been here before, Greg Davis, who won the Broyles Award, outstanding coaches, and I just got to be in that system. I had great teammates, and the expectation was to win, and so I felt that every single day, and I wanted to go out there and play as good as I could for all those coaches and players around me, and for you know, the opportunity that I got to go to Texas. I mean, I sat my first year behind Vince Young, who's also been here. Those were pretty big shoes to fill, and I remember holding a clipboard in the national championship game when we beat USC, and I was just praying to God that nothing would happen to Vince Young so that I would not have to go in that game. I had some soul searching to do to figure out, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can play college football at Texas. I'll just go back to Abilene Christian and play football and basketball and be just fine. But it all worked out, and very thankful for my time at Texas.
On our morning show, Morning Mayhem, with myself, Roger, and Justin Moore, who's a country music artist, we were talking the other day. there is not a greater name that you could ever create for being the quarterback at the University of Texas than Colt McCoy. So what's the genesis of Colt McCoy, if you don't mind sharing?
It's a great question. My dad was a football coach, and my first name is actually Daniel, but for generations, my whole family has gone by their middle name. So since the day I was born, I went by Colt. And I don't know, I guess my dad just had good judgment. Maybe it was my mom. I don't know. You know?
So
should ask.
So what's crazy? This is an amazing stat. Talking about 11 touchdowns and over 700 yards passing. Once you started playing like junior high ball, maybe it's pee-wee, midget, whatever it was. I don't know what they called it back then. But when you started playing, you never lost a game from when you started at age what? What do you think?
I started football in 7th grade.
So from the 7th grade, you had never lost a game until the state championship of your junior year. So I saw a story where you lost and your dad came out, you were bawling. You were so upset, and your dad came out and said, "Come on, Colt, listen, I know it's tough." And then it hit him to realize you had never lost ever a football game in your life until you got to your junior year in high school in the state championship. I mean, that's pretty darn remarkable to have that level of success.
Yeah, I was so pissed off I didn't know what else to do, so I just started crying. Listen, I got to play a lot of sports in high school and went to a small town. You mentioned 2A. We were one classification above 6-man football. I mean, I was just glad we had enough kids to play 11-man football. But we played basketball, I ran track, I played baseball, I played tennis, I played golf. You did all those things in high school so you could have a team. And I had lost some games in these other sports, but never in football. And when it happened, I was just so confused. I was like, this wasn't supposed to happen. We worked too hard for this. But I'll never forget. It was a good lesson, and it put me in the spotlight here. I'll tell you what happened, why I was really pissed, okay? We went to, my school was called Gymnet High School. It was a consolidated school district, so it was a county school. It was a bunch of farms. Some of my best friends lived 45 minutes away from me. Probably similar to parts of Arkansas, you know what I mean? Farmers and everybody spread out. Anyways, my dad was the head coach, and we had a booster club that supported our town and our school. And we thought we were good enough to go to the state championship, and they promised us. They said, if you guys make the state championship, you guys get to play in AT&T Stadium or Cowboy Stadium. That's where all the state championships were played. This was the old Cowboy Stadium in Irving. And I, as a kid, since my dad was a football coach, used to go to all the state championships. You could get one ticket, and you could watch all the classifications, watch the state championship. So we were good enough to get there, and we made it. And we didn't have enough money to pay Jerry Jones to play in Cowboy Stadium. So we played at Ennis High School, right outside of Dallas. It was snowing, it was freezing and windy, and I couldn't throw the football. It was stinking cold. And we ended up getting beat my first game, so I had all these emotions. If we were playing indoors, I promise you we would have won.
Jerry, come on, Jerry.
I don't remember what the number was, but I'm like, I wish I could go back there and figure that out.
But you ended up winning. You won the state championship the next year. Is that right? Or
we lost the state championship next year in football and basketball.
Okay. So I mentioned you're 160 pounds, 6'2", whatever, and you weren't really sure that you'd ever get a call from the flagship University of Texas, to play quarterback, even though you put up monster numbers. I mean, you put up monster numbers at a 2A school. How cool of it was when Mac Brown, by the way, Mac Brown, you guys have, I don't know how far many of you go back in the Touchdown Club. He's been a regular guest of ours. He's been a Broyles Award voter, class act. But how cool was it to get that call from Mac Brown at Texas?
Yeah, it was great. I didn't get recruited till late. And it was actually late in my junior year. I was running track at the time. And I get a letter in the mail from Texas, and they asked me to come to their one-day football camp, and it was the same day of the regional track meet. So I hated track, full disclosure, but my dad made me run track. But I'd qualified for the regional track meet in the hurdles. Nobody else on my team had qualified, so it wasn't a team deal. It was just an individual event. I was going to go. I had one district in the high hurdles. I wasn't that fast. But my dad said, you know what? I'll let you decide. If you want to go to this football camp, we can wake up at 4 in the morning. I'll drive you to Austin. You know, he's kind of laughing about it like, or you can call the second place finisher at the district track meet and ask him to take your spot. And he totally left it up to me. It's the best decision I ever made. And so I called. I said, I want to go to this football camp. I don't know. What the heck? I hate track anyways. So he drives me to Austin. We wake up real early. And when I get to campus, you know, there's Austin, the University of Texas is big, so there's a practice field here and then the game field. And so all the people who the coaches didn't know was over on this field, and that's where I was. And all the people they were recruiting were on this field. And by the end of the day, I thought I was throwing the ball pretty good. By the end of the day, I ended up on this field, and it was Mark Sanchez. It was a guy named Ryan Perilou. Those were all guys in my class, and so they had offered those guys. So we're walking out to the car, and one of the UT guys says, hey, you know, Coach Brown wants to see you guys in his office. I was like, okay. So me and my dad, we go back up, we sit down, it's Coach Brown and Miss Sally, his wife, and they like, so, son, where are you from? I never heard of it. What classification? 2A. 2, do y'all play 11-man football? Yeah, we do. This is my dad, he's my football coach. And so we got to talk, and so we left, and it was great. We were in there for about 30 minutes, and I get in the car, and I shut the door, and I'm like, Dad, listen, if I have the chance to go to University of Texas, that's where I want to go. And I remember my dad, he's driving, he's like, yeah, every other kid in the state too, buddy. You know, good luck. We go home, it's Saturday night, we wake up Sunday morning, there's a FedEx package on my front door, and it's a handwritten note from Coach Brown giving me a scholarship to University of Texas. And that's how it happened.
Then you get a chance to go and to be that first year there, to be with that team with Vince Young, playing that, to be there at the Rose Bowl, to see maybe what some consider the greatest performance by a quarterback in the history of college football.
It's the best I've ever seen.
For you to be there, what a cool memory that was.
Yeah, just the entire year. You know, we ran the table, won the national championship in the Rose Bowl. I mean, it was just a magical season. You know, and then I had to go earn the job. Texas is going to get the #1 quarterback recruit in the country every year, and we got him every year when I was there. And, you know, I think Coach Brown had a comfort level of knowing that my dad was my high school coach, and so, like, I could take it, essentially. So it was never anything given. It was always earned, and the expectations were always high. And, you know, I came into the smallest class in Texas history. We had 13 players in our recruiting class. You know, normally there are 20, 25 players. Well, we were ranked like number 3 in the country, number 2 or 3 in the country before I committed. And when I committed to this small class, we dropped out of the top 10 because I wasn't rated. So all my, my guys in my recruiting class always gave me a hard time, and I told them, I was like, I promise you I'm gonna pull through for you guys. You just hang with me. Yeah. So it was awesome, and got to sit as a redshirt freshman during that year, and then go earn the job after that.
The reason he is the all-time winningest coach is because you played as a freshman. You come in under the pressure of following a national championship in Vince Young and have a really good freshman campaign, win a lot of awards. You go into the second year. I think you had a good year as well. I think, what was the bowl game where he came to you and said you were going to split time?
Yeah, my second year. My first 2 years we won 10 games, 10-3, which, you know, the last 15 years, Texas probably would have taken that, you know. But at the time, it was brutal because we had, won the national championship, and then you lose 3 games. You lost 6 games in 2 years, and it was tough. Going to class was tough. And, I got to the Holiday Bowl. I turned the ball over too many times my sophomore year, according to Coach Brown. And he just said, hey, look, I'm going to, every third series, I'm gonna put the backup in. I just want to see what he can do.
Who was that?
His name was John Childs. And, kind of maybe lit a fire under me a little bit, and still won MVP of that game. We scored like 60 points, and the rest is history. But I told Coach Brown thank you a few years ago.
So you come back, I guess it was the third year, your junior year, where, does anybody remember when Arkansas had to go to Austin and play this guy? Anybody remember that? So one of the things I love about this story, he was telling me earlier this morning, when Arkansas, it was your junior year, when Arkansas went to Austin, it was Bobby Petrino's first year. You started seeing a lot of the old guard, all the old Texas, James Street and all the great players showing up. So you realize, wow, there's something to this Arkansas-Texas rivalry.
Yes, for sure. We I don't know if you guys remember, that was the week that the game almost got canceled for a hurricane that was supposed to blow through. Anyways, Tuesday was like, the game's off. We're not playing the game. It was us and Arkansas had the same bye week, so we were going to play it later in the year. And then we come into work on Wednesday, and he's like, game's on. And I just remember we had Coach Darrell Royal. Our stadium's named after him. Ted Coy played there. Coach Brown. Bob McCoy. They all came in and started talking about the Arkansas-Texas rivalry. And I love history, and so I was like digging into this. I'm like, okay, old Southwest Conference, you used to put our flag on the highway. We had to drive over here to come play you guys. People had to drive over it. And you hear all these stories, and so it meant a lot. By the time Saturday got there, you could tell, like, you just saw tons of the old Southwest Conference guys back in the building. They were there for the game. They honored them, and it was like, oh, well, boys, we better strap up. This is a big game, and we ended up playing well. And I think for me, just Texas moving to the SEC this year, obviously we're in a better position than we have been in the last several years to make this jump. But we get all of our rivalries back, including you guys. Arkansas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, we get to keep. And so for me as a fan now, it's pretty cool because all these old games that meant a lot to the generation behind us, it's back. And so I hope that it stays here, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Does anybody remember the score of that game? I'll be quick. 52-10. Do you remember much about that game?
Remember, I played the first half, and I don't think I came out. Just kidding.
So obviously the Razorbacks got a lot better after that game. You come back and you end up getting back to the Rose Bowl that you had been holding a clipboard for Vince Young against mighty Alabama. And so you're talking about a tale of asking God why. This is the game you've been training for. Greg McElroy, who we've had here, everybody was very impressed with Greg. Greg's a Texas guy too. You get in the game, and I think it's first series, right? First series or second series, you get knocked out. So take us through that game. You worked to this point. This is where you wanted to get the program back to, and then all of a sudden you're done.
Yeah. Well, I had the opportunity to go to the NFL after my junior year. Had come back that I was going to be a first-round pick, and so I go to Coach Brown's office, and he's listing me all the reasons why I should come back, and I wanted to, in my heart, I wanted to come back. I love my teammates, my coaches, and you hear it all the time, but you really do feel like, I got exposed to that in my redshirt year, and then, every year was trying to get back to the national championship, and this year was going to be at the Rose Bowl. And this was a pretty easy decision for me, honestly, and if I had to go back and do it all over again, I would probably make the same decision. And we were a younger football team, and so we didn't blow out a whole lot of teams my senior year. We played a bunch of freshman wide receivers and guys that you're kind of coaching along as you go. But we made it to the national championship game back in the Rose Bowl, and it was special. I mean, the crowd, the environment, and we get 4 plays into it, and we marched right down the field, and I blew my shoulder out. I mean, completely. The whole right side of my body, went numb. I ended up breaking a couple ribs and AC, and the biggest deal was like a nerve in my neck that just got pinched, and I had no control for weeks. And it ultimately cost me being a first rounder. I mean, there was no doctors that could tell any of these teams that were thinking about drafting me like when I was going to be healthy, if I ever was. And so it was all hard. But going back to the game, I mean, we obviously felt like we had a pretty good game plan, and we were pretty amped up, and meant a lot to all of us. But for me, like take me personally out of it. I still feel bad to this day because I played for 4 years. Nobody else had taken a snap behind center. Nobody else had called a play. Coaches hadn't coached. It was just different for everybody. And, the amount of love I have for, my teammates and their families and the coaches and their wives and kids and just the family atmosphere that Coach Brown created, I felt like I let everybody down. Obviously, it's football. You get hurt. You just never want to get hurt in that situation, and learned a lot about myself. And fortunately, I had to deal with more injuries when I got to the NFL, but it was hard. It was tough, because there was a lot on the line there, and I had never really been hurt up to that point. I never really missed a game, and it was brutal.
Your faith is very important to you. I know you said that game still hurts. And so, but I know your faith is important to you. And as you mentioned, you went through the NFL, and I was sort of like you. Every time I played, I was dealing with an injury. And some guys are fortunate they never have any nicks and bruises, but some guys have to deal with it. Well, what about your faith and how important that was through all that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody has to have something that they can lean on and go to. You have a lot of family, it's your friends. It's for me, it's always been my faith, and I think that's a product of how I was raised with my parents and my family. But at some point, you have to make that decision yourself. And I've just always felt like, for me, that my faith in the Lord and what He's done for me, and it's been awesome. My favorite scripture in the Bible is Colossians 3:23. It says, "For whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as if you're working for the Lord." And that's just how I've tried to approach everything I've done. And in college at that time, it was, my world revolved around football. And so I wanted to be the best I could be to honor the Lord with the talents that He had given me. And in that moment, it's hard, but at the same time, life is hard. We're going to go through stuff. A lot of people had went through harder trials than I had to deal with a shoulder injury in that moment. And so I respected that. I felt that. And nothing's perfect here. Heaven's going to be perfect. Right here, it's not. And we just, I got to play football as a sport, as a game, and I played it as hard as I could for as long as I could, and it was awesome, and it did so many wonderful things for me. But you look back at that moment, it's like, man, I wish that wouldn't have happened. But at the end of the day, it happened for a purpose and for a reason. We'll find out someday. And at the time, I just really leaned on my family and my faith to overcome it.
No other freshman will have no other player will ever have a chance to break your record unless they pretty much start every game as a freshman. Now, so we've had Eli, we've had Archie, we've had Peyton Manning. So we've had all the Mannings here. We love the Mannings, and so you've got Arch Manning.
You'll have Arch here someday too, I bet. He's coming.
He obviously you've got a chance to be around him a little bit as well as Quinn Ewers, but obviously Arch will look good as a freshman too. Talk about the quarterback situation between those two.
Yeah, I think I tell people a lot that if you have a good quarterback room, you're probably going to have a good football team. And I think that's the state of Texas right now. Quinn's played a lot of ball. He's in his third year. He's could take us all the way. Who knows? We still got to play you guys. You guys might show up. I don't know. But you still have Arch. Hey, I'm serious. You guys,
But yeah, you remember the last trip.
You got to do something different than letting Ole Miss score 63 points. So, Arch is good too. Arch played well against Mississippi State. He came in and done some nice things. But again, I think they're good friends. That room sort of trickles down to the rest of the team. And when that room is, playing together and working together and friendly, and I think Sark's done a really nice job with them. Look, I think either one of them, honestly, could be the quarterback right now, but Quinn's played for 3 years and has had some really nice games. And look, for Texas, who knows what happens? I'm giving you guys a hard time. They still got several games left to play, but they're, in position, just like the other one-loss teams in the SEC, to do something special, and, we'll see.
Sark came to Fayetteville a few years ago, obviously. I think it was his first year, and Arkansas really jumped on Texas early. Sark also won the Broyles Award, as a matter of fact, when he was at Alabama. And so, yeah, it's really a crazy year. Now, you're doing broadcasting for the Big Ten. Big Ten Network, and you, well, not Big Ten Network, it's actually NBC, yeah. But you got a chance to see Indiana. You covered the Indiana game. You said Indiana is for real.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't know if you've watched Indiana's basketball school. I know, but they are for real in football. They're balanced on offense. Their defense is strong. They're a bunch of veteran guys. Kirk Signetti came from JMU, who won a ton of games. He brought like half his team. I call them JMU West over there at Indiana.
Right.
But they are fast. They're physical. They're athletic. And you heard it here. I'm just telling you. I think Indiana makes the playoff. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat Ohio State in a couple weeks.
Now, you obviously played for multiple teams in the NFL. I think one of the highlights had to be growing up in Texas when you were playing for the Redskins at the time. You guys beat the Dallas Cowboys at Dallas, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the Cowboys never called me one time. I played 14 years. Whatever. So, yeah, but we beat them on Monday Night Football. We beat them a couple times. But you growing up in Texas, I mean, listen, I grew up in the dynasty. Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, Jay Novacek, all these guys. I mean, Arkansas is Cowboys fans too, right? Yeah, Jerry Jones. I mean, so I loved the Cowboys. It was hard not to love the Cowboys. You go to the NFL, you're like, man, my childhood team, wouldn't that be awesome? But if they don't ever call you, you certainly want to beat them. That game was always circle.
You did.
Beat them several times.
So has anybody seen Colt in the Progressive TV commercials last night? National. So what the premise is, they call you in, there's a beehive up there, and they need to spray it, so they call in the backup. The husband's not doing a good enough job, so they bring you in. What was the genesis of all that?
Not everybody has a backup quarterback, so just call Progressive. That's it. Yeah, I mean, when they called me to do that, I was like, I guess,
they got your check, right?
I guess late in my career, I was mostly a backup, and I played pretty good when I'd come off the bench, and I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And you can't imagine, you film for 12 hours to get that one little shh. That's it. I'm like, why are we doing this 1,000 times? But finally made the cut.
Last thing before we let you go, obviously you did not play in the NIL portal era. Thoughts on NIL and, obviously Texas, I think, Ole Miss, who we obviously just saw this weekend, benefits from it. What's your thoughts as a former player on the NIL and portal? Yeah,
I get asked that all the time. I would say I'm thankful that players now can capitalize on their name, image, and likeness. I think this world is very gray. I'm for players finding a way to make some money while they're in college. I'm happy about that. I mean, I couldn't get a meal when I was in college. And so I have an issue with the transfer portal. I mean, I think if you want to sort of figure out the NIL landscape, I know there's a lot smarter people than me trying to work on that. It's just very fuzzy. I don't get it. But the portal, man, guys transferring like just constantly. Oh, I'm going to sit out after these 4 games because now I know my market value. That stuff's got to stop. I mean, at some point, can we just, maybe you can transfer once and great, but like over and over, you still got to build a team. To me, I just want to keep the sanctity of college football. I love college. That's why I'm calling games on NBC. Like, I had the opportunity to call games in the NFL. I played in the league for a long time. I just want to be around college football. I want the history. I want the Texas-Arkansas rivalry. I want it to all be pure and the same. And when guys just have the flexibility to just bump and move schools over and over, I hate that. And so I think if you can figure out a way to eliminate just the ability for everybody to bounce in and out of the portal all the time, I think that will help eventually with the how you determine who gets all the money at your school or whatever. But if school, I do know one thing: if schools want to be competitive, you got to have some money. That's just how it is.
What's Matthew McConaughey like? I'm sure you got to hang out with Matthew a little bit. Is your buddy?
I met Matthew in 2005. So I've got to know Matthew now. What is 2020? I mean, for a long time. He wasn't married with any kids at the time.
Oh boy! All right.
In fact, he was filming a show. I'm trying to remember what it was, a betting show where he was actually playing quarterback, and then his character gets hurt, and then he becomes like a sports bettor. Yeah. By the way, there's a lot of Church of Christ guys in here. You better be careful talking about sports betting. Anyways, so he was like, dude, I don't want a double to play me. Like, I actually want to take the snaps. And he's like, how do you hold the football? So I'm putting where's your hand to hold the ball here, how to throw it. He throws terrible. I mean, it was not good. We worked a little bit. You know, I'm the scout team quarterback. I'm a freshman. And he's like, he's pulling me off to the side. He was at practice all the time. And he did it.
How did he look in the movie?
I gave him like a B. I told him it was like a B plus maybe. Better than what it was when we started, for sure. But Matthew's great. I mean, Matthew's now the self-proclaimed minister of culture. I'm sure he'll be here at Arkansas when we play you guys.
Probably.
But just an awesome guy. His wife's amazing. He's got 3 kids, and he's a nice guy.
Well, I did, by the way, since I allowed him to have some fun with a 52-10 score when he played. I did remind him that when 053 here played Texas in 1981, I think it was 42-11, number 1 Texas. So that was a big one for the Red. Anybody remember that game? Yes, there we go. So is he not? Listen, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play college football. 2-time Heisman finalist, All-American 2 times. Greatest quarterback, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever play. But can you not tell what a great guy this is? Let's give it up for Colt McCoy, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Colt. All right, next week, Barry Switzer, Ken Hatfield, and Freddie Marshall. Thanks for being here, everybody.